Historically, when the season resets, Clash Mini introduces a balance change to the game. So with the end of the month approaching, we're going to be talking about my balance change wish list and what I would like to see change for minis and heroes in the next balance change update. So to kick things off, I would like to say that Frenzy does need a little bit of a rework. I'm not sure of the exact multipliers, but right now Frenzy just kind of feels a little bit wonky. Conceptually, it feels really good, outside of having to go to like the randomness of a tiebreaker where it just ticks health down. I think having it in game makes sense and I like the concept of it, but right now it just feels a little clunky and out of place, and certain units are very OP in Frenzy, as we know. So maybe the multipliers need to be changed, maybe the back end of Frenzy needs to be changed. So conceptually it's good, but it does need a little bit of a rework. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, so we're gonna kick things off with the 4 elixir minis, starting with the Magic Archer. Magic Archer, I'd like to see its base attack reduced to 3 from 4, and also its base HP reduced to 13. One of the current core issues with Magic Archer is that it packs a huge punch, deals a ton of damage, but it's also tricky to take down. So having its HP reduced slightly, making it easier to take down, but also reducing its attack so it's not as punishable when units get close to the Magic Archer, especially with the triple arrow. So I think reducing its base attack, but also reducing its base HP makes it easier to take down and also doesn't pack as much of a punch. For the Royal Ghost, I'd like to see its hit speed per upgrade reduced to 0.1, its Ghost Army Clash ability reduced to 3 seconds, and then also its Ghosty ability changed to every 4 hits. Right now, I think the biggest problem with the Royal Ghost is that it gets its invisibility too quickly, and also the amount of time with the Clash ability causes a huge disruption and displacement to the enemy units. With the reduction in time of the Clash ability, you might be able to place your units in a certain way that don't get all of your units out of position when you're trying to counter a Royal Ghost and set it up for isolation. I think that's one of the biggest issues with the Royal Ghost, so I would like to see that. And maybe the hit speed reduction and the every 4 hits is a little too much. And if it is, I'd like to see at least one or the other coming to the Royal Ghost and completely nerfing it, not to the ground, but taking it where it's not as dominant in the meta. For the Mega Knight, I'd like to see just a small nerf, have its energy increased to 11. So right now it's 10. So once you get 10 energy, you're able to cast the Mega Knight super. I think increasing it to 11, like 1 doesn't sound like a lot, but in reality, that is like 1 extra tick for the Dark Armor to activate, or 1 extra hit for the Mega Knight to get the that energy back into play. So it would take a little bit of extra time for the Mega Knight to cast its super, which would allow players to kind of counter the Mega Knight a little bit easier. Nothing too big for the Mega Knight, but just a small nerf. For the Battle Healer, I'd like to see a little bit of a buff. I'd like to see its base hits per second increase to 0.7. The Prince does need a slight nerf, so for the Prince, I'd like to see its charge stun reduced to 2 seconds, and then also reduce the pony attack speed. I don't know if we know the exact hits per second, but right now I feel like having it get 1 hit every 2 seconds is probably a little bit too good, considering it also stuns and knocks back. So maybe just reducing its hit speed would help kind of that pony not be as oppressive. For the Pekka, just a small change. I'd like to see her get a plus 0.05 hits per second. This way, when she maxes out, she would get an extra 0.15 hits per second, which would make her a little bit more viable within the meta. Moving on to the 3 elixir minis for the Healing Ranger, I'd like to see her base hit speed increase to 0.7. I feel like she doesn't really attack and heal as quickly as she should. She's also the healer with a static HP increase instead of a percentage-based increase, so I'd like to see her be able to get a little bit more frequency off with her heals. For the Swordsman, I'd like to see its damage per strike reduced to 3 from 4. This way, when it gets a total of 8 strikes, it's actually dealing only 24 damage rather than the existing 32. For the Mini Pekka, I'd like to see its HP per upgrade reduced to 10 and its base hit speed reduced to 0.45. Right now, Mini Pekka at max level feels a little too overwhelming, especially with the Dissipate and the abilities to critical and even crit even more after a unit has been stunned. So it feels a little bit oppressive, so I'd like to see it have its HP just toned down just a little bit. At max level, it's losing loses 6 HP with this balance change, and also having its base hit speed reduced. That way it doesn't get attacks off as frequently. I don't think Mini Pekka is overpowered, but it is a little bit oppressive in more situations than not. So I would like to see just a small nerf to the Mini Pekka. Moving to the 2 elixir minis, I'd like to see Lumberjack's first star ability also affect allies. So right now it's 20% increase to itself. I'd like to see that 20% increase to allies as well. For the Ice Wizard, just have its base HP reduced to 8. I think the problem with the Ice Wizard right now is that it has a lot of health, and when you get a unit on it, it still takes a while for it to take down, especially because the Ice Wizard is most likely targeting the unit that is attacking it, and it takes a while for it to go down. So having its HP reduced would help quite a bit, being able to take the Ice Wizard down. I think if you nerf any more of its like core kit, then it's not going to be as viable. So I think just making it a little bit easier to take down will be beneficial for the Ice Wizard. For the Wizard, I'd like to see its hit speed increase to 0.55, and for the Archer, I'd like to see its hit speed increase to 0.7. For the Barbarian, I'd like to see its first ability change to +2 attack when its HP drops below 50%. I think this would be beneficial to the Barbarian because right now he doesn't feel really good in top of ladder. He's pretty good at the beginning of the game, but once players learn how to counter it, it doesn't really feel that viable, and it felt like it had a huge drop off after its attack speed stack was removed from it. So I'd like to see it deal a little bit more damage, especially in the later round situations, so that way when it drops below 50%, having that extra attack buff might make the Barbarian a lot more viable again. And last but not least, for the Miner, I'd like to see an increase to its base hit speed to 0.7 and reduce its hit speed per upgrade to 0.1. This way it would be a 1 hit per second unit at 3 stars. And now moving into the heroes, so for the Shield Maiden, if they do keep the shield removal when the unit is stunned, I would like to change the energy gain to +2 when she's stunned. And if she's stunned, that way if she's stunned during her shield, she gets halfway to casting a new shield, right? So this way, she's not completely knocked back, completely useless, because right now she is just terrible in the game right now. So basically when she's stunned, she should get like half her energy back, so that way she can cast the shield a little bit quicker, because with a lot of stun lock decks right now, especially with Mega Knight, with Ice Wizard being able to slow, with Electro Wizard, things like that, you want to try to be able to get the Shield Maiden in a place where she's able to cast shields. So I think getting her an ability where she's able to get her shield more frequently. So if they do keep the removal of the shield when she gets stunned, at least give her more energy when she gets stunned. And then also I'd like to see her HP increased to 75 at max level. So that's basically just adding 10 HP in her level journey from level 1 to level 15. So just sprinkle that 10 HP in there somewhere and let her max HP be 75. For the Skeleton King, I think the Skeleton King is fairly balanced. It's just kind of unbalanced in Frenzy mode, but in order to, I think, fix the Skeleton King, I would really like to see its reduce soul base health down to 8, and then give it +2 HP per soul, but then also increase its energy cost to 9. So this way it needs to get that like 1 extra hit in there to get its super off, because right now the biggest problem in Frenzy is that it gets its super so quickly, and especially being able to isolate units and able to get those attacks off so quick. Skeleton King is a very dominant force to be reckoned with, and you want to make sure when going into Frenzy mode that the Skeleton King doesn't have a ton of health, so that way it can survive and just mow enemies down in Frenzy. So I think reducing its HP during the Resurrection, but then increasing its energy cost will help bounce Skeleton King out just a little bit. For the Natureborn, right now Natureborn is a little bit on the weaker side, but I would like to see her human form overheal change to +4 energy over 2 seconds rather than the energy per HP healed. But then, so that would nerf the amount of energy she actually distributes during a super. But I would like to see, in change of that, her human form base damage increase to 2 instead of 1. So she'll grant less energy with her supers, which would make a lot of stun lock based decks, like with Electro Wizard, she can just kind of get Electro Wizard farmed up, so that way it kind of like permanently stuns. Reduce the energy that she's able to grant with her super, but increase her damage. I think that would also make her a little bit more viable in the meta. For the Monk, I think the Monk is actually okay right now. I would like to see an overall kit rework, but I'm still trying to figure out what that would look like. But in the meantime, I'd like to see its increase to its energy to 10. Right now it's 8. So increase that to 10 so that way it's not as dominant in the early rounds, because right now it gains a lot of health. But I feel like if you reduce how much health it gains from like getting boasts and everything like that, it'll feel really weak. So I think just increasing how much energy it needs to get its super off will make it easier for players to deal with the monk. And last but not least, for the Barbarian King, I would like to see its first ability a little bit reworked. So level 1, have it also increase hit speed by 10%. At level 2, add another 10% hit speed, and then level 4, add 2 seconds of duration. So right now the distribution is that it increases second, like the timer of the Iron Fist, but I would like to see the Iron Fist actually also increase hit speed. So not only does it double the damage, but it would also increase the hit speed by 20%, which I think is a really good amount. But then also it's the Barbarian King still with that invincibility reduced in time. It's still not as dominant, but when it's on the field, it adds a lot more of an impact. And the Barbarian King being like the leader, it should kind of morale and rally the troops and not only deal double damage, but also increase their hit speed as well. Let me know what you think of these balance changes down in the comment section below, and also tell me your balance change wish list.